Learning English through stories is one of the smartest ways to train your brain. When you hear real, natural language in a fun context, your brain absorbs grammar and vocabulary without needing to study it directly. That's the magic of storytelling. If you enjoy learning like this, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss tomorrow's story. Now get ready for a fun and surprising journey through one of the most iconic places in the world. Ethan had dreamed of visiting China for as long as he could remember. There was something mysterious and fascinating about the history, the architecture, and the culture. So when his school organized a trip to Beijing, he immediately signed up. He had packed his bag carefully, even adding a small notebook where he planned to write about his adventures. The most exciting place on the itinerary was the Forbidden City. He had seen pictures of the red walls, the golden roofs, and the wide courtyards. It looked like a place from a movie, full of ancient secrets and royal traditions. When the day finally came, Ethan woke up early, full of energy, ready to walk through history. The entrance to the Forbidden City was even more impressive than he expected. The giant gate towered above him, with flags gently moving in the breeze. The group walked in slowly, surrounded by other tourists from around the world. Their guide spoke clearly, pointing to important buildings and explaining the history of emperors, ceremonies, and daily life inside the palace. Ethan followed the group, but he also took his time. He stopped to take pictures, stared at the details carved into stone, and even leaned against the walls just to feel the cool surface. Every turn led to something new. A marble staircase, a row of golden lions, a quiet corner with shade. It was a place that made him forget about time. At one point, the guide explained they would take a short break in a shaded courtyard before continuing. Ethan grabbed his water bottle and sat under a tree near a quiet pond. The water was still, with floating leaves and a few small fish swimming near the surface. It looked peaceful, almost like a painting. He stood up to take a photo from a better angle. There was a small stone path that curved along the edge of the pond. It looked safe enough. He stepped onto the first stone, balancing carefully. Then he took another step. The view was amazing from there. He lifted his phone to take the picture. That was the moment it happened. His foot slipped on a damp patch of stone. He lost his balance. His arms waved in the air as he tried to steady himself, but it was too late. With a quick splash, he fell backward into the shallow pond. For a second, everything went quiet. He was sitting in water that barely reached his knees, his clothes completely soaked, his backpack half floating beside him. He blinked, trying to understand what had just happened. Around him, a few people had turned their heads, but no one said anything. They were probably just as surprised as he was. Ethan stood up slowly, water dripping from his shirt and shorts. His shoes made a squishy sound with every step. He picked up his backpack, now heavier than before, and climbed out of the pond. A guard nearby raised an eyebrow, but didn't say a word. Ethan gave a small nod and walked back toward the group. Nobody had seen the fall, not his classmates, not the guide. They were still sitting under the trees, chatting or checking their phones. Ethan joined them quietly, trying not to draw attention. He sat down, trying to wring water out of his socks without making a mess. The rest of the tour felt different. He walked carefully, avoiding anything that looked even slightly slippery. His clothes began to dry under the sun, but the feeling of cold water stayed with him. He kept glancing at the pond as they passed other parts of the city, still in shock at how quickly things had changed. Later, when they reached the final courtyard, the guide gave them a few minutes to walk around on their own. Ethan took out his notebook and wrote down the story of the fall. He added a drawing of the pond and the stone path, and next to it, a small cartoon version of himself mid-fall with big surprised eyes. He didn't feel embarrassed anymore. In fact, it was probably going to be the story he told first when he got home. Falling into a pond at the Forbidden City wasn't exactly what he had planned, but it was a memory he would never forget. On the bus ride back to the hotel, his clothes were finally dry. He leaned back in his seat, looking out the window as the city lights passed by. His notebook sat in his lap, open to the page with the drawing. He smiled to himself. Not every travel memory had to be perfect. Sometimes the mistakes made the best stories. You didn't just hear a funny story, you learned English in a way that sticks. You saw how natural structures like "he had been" at one point and "barely reached" are used. These are the kinds of expressions native speakers use all the time, and now you've seen them in context. If this story made you smile, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you catch our daily story drops. And now we want to hear from you. What's the funniest or most surprising thing that ever happened to you while traveling? Write about it in the comments. We'd love to read your stories.